It's been an interesting offseason in Dallas as the Stars hope to continue with another long playoff run next season. But are they better than they were a year ago? Joey Erickson of Locked On Stars is here to talk about that and all things Dallas Stars next on the Locked On NHL Podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs are in our rearview mirror, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. It is great to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Dallas Stars, Joey Erickson. And Joey, a lot of activity since July 1st around the Dallas Stars. Talk to me about some of the biggest losses and additions that Dallas has made.
Yeah, a lot of intriguing decisions were made by the Dallas Stars, especially on July 1st after losing, of course, Chris Tanev, who was a big piece of last year's postseason run. Dallas was hoping to at least somehow replace him, but as well as you know, it is really hard to replace players like Chris Tanev. He was a great fit here in Dallas. Unfortunately, they were not going to be able to match what Toronto gave Chris Tanev. I don't think a lot of teams were going to be able to match what Toronto and Tanev ended up going with. So they had to find a way to kind of replace him by aggregate. And I think they missed out on a few of the big names like Matt Roy and Brandon Montour and even some others that were floated out there. And then all of a sudden they had to kind of go, I hate to use this term, but dumpster diving in a way. And they just had to go and grab some pieces. So they acquire Matt Dumba. They acquire Ilya Lyubushkin and Brendan Smith as well to kind of fill in the rest of the defensive core. And I think a lot of Stars fans feel like they took a step back from where they were at the Western Conference Final, and I would have to agree. So I'm really, really curious to see how the Stars get rolling here. They're still going to be a very good team, I think, but defensively, they don't scream contender in the West when you're thinking about getting over the hump. I still think they're a piece away. I think they're going to be a trade deadline away like they were a season ago. They're going to have to grab somebody else like a Tanev to really solidify that back end. But I'm still intrigued to see where it goes, because the one thing that these moves do for Dallas is maybe they give them some balance on the back end in terms of righties and lefties. Miro Heiskanen, as we know, has always played on his weak side for the majority of his career. Adding two right shot defensemen may give Pete DeBoer the opportunity to put Lyubushkin with Miro or even Matt Dumba. And now Miro can play on his strong side. And maybe that benefits the Stars more than we kind of realize, because he's been just so good on his off side. Maybe putting him on his strong side will really open up him offensively and open up the Stars a bit too. So I think the questions still lie in the defense. And we kind of talked about that all of last season. It's just a matter of, hey, can you get over the hump this time? Because their window's pretty open right now.
Talk to me a little bit about the retirement of Joe Pavelski, what his loss will mean both on the ice and in the locker room.
Yeah, on the ice, I think advanced statistics and a lot of people would concur that it's addition by subtraction, because Father Time really caught up to Joe, especially in the postseason. He just wasn't quite himself. And I'm still talking about a 38-year-old that put up 65 points in the regular season. He was still very, very effective. So on ice, I think Dallas is going to still be as lethal up front, and that's due to some of their drafting over the past couple of years. And Maverick Bourque, who's a highly touted prospect, who was the AHL MVP this past season, he's going to be a full-time NHL player, along with Logan Stankov. And so those guys are going to be elevated into some bigger roles. Off the ice, you're obviously missing a huge, huge leader, and he has made such an impact here in Dallas in what was just 5 years. And it's almost hard to believe that Joe ever played anywhere else than Dallas. That's how big of an impact he has. And obviously he had an incredible decade in San Jose. But I think that's just the type of person he is. He comes here, he makes everybody around him better. And you talk about just his ability to help mentor the young players on this team, like the Wyatt Johnston. And it's well documented he was living with him the past few years. And right. The breakout campaign Wyatt Johnston had. You think he's not benefited from having Joe Pavelski around every single day in his ear? Like that is huge. And just the preparation he came to the rink with every day what was massive. And what a player. I hope he gets into the Hall of Fame. I know some people will knock him for not winning a cup, but he still is a national champion, man. At the NCAA. He's had a heck of a career, and from a 7th round pick to play over 1,000 games to do what he did is pretty special.
New backup goalie in town now. What is your feeling? Does Casey DeSmith make the goaltending depth better, worse, or roughly the same?
I would say roughly the same. It was unfortunate that the Stars were unable to retain Scott Wedgewood, who of course departed for Nashville, but Jim Nill, general manager of the Stars, said it was just a cap casualty, unfortunately, and it really wasn't that much of a raise, $500,000, but that's a lot in the cap era when you talk about trying to add everything else into the pot. So they were unable to sign Wedgewood. What most Stars fans are concerned about is the locker room more than the on-ice tandem. DeSmith has pretty similar numbers to Scott Wedgewood, and I think we'll give Dallas a chance to win on most nights when he's in the pipe, and more importantly, just give Otter some rest time when he needs it. But Otter and Wedgewood had a really, really great relationship. They were so tight, and Wedgewood came into Dallas not wanting to take over the number one job. That wasn't his plan, right? He just wanted to be there for Otter and help him grow. And I think that personality really gelled well. So there could be some lasting effects there with that tandem as Otter and DeSmith sort of grow their relationship. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and I think Otter and Wedgewood both understand that. But it was a loss for the locker room. But I think in terms of play, probably going to be very similar. And if Dallas can outscore some of their problems like they did a year ago, they should be just fine in between the pipes.
So now, the season is still a couple of months away. On paper, at least, is this a better Dallas team than it was a year ago? Are there more concerns facing you? And it sounds like, based on what you're saying, if there are concerns, some of them are chemistry related and locker room related.
Absolutely. It's a great question, Gil, and I feel like I've mulled this over all off season. If we had to compare it to what the Dallas Stars were day one of the season prior, I think you could say it's pretty similar, possibly a slight step back, but nothing of real magnitude. But I think there are some concerns on the back end. You are hoping Matt Dumba is going to slide in and play a top 4 role for you. I don't necessarily have too many concerns about the players of Dumba and Lyubushkin. I think my biggest concerns are they going to thrive in a role where Dallas needs them to play? And that is sort of in the top 4. And if you're banking on that, I think that's a real tough go. And two, I'm thinking about this in the grand scheme of things of the playoffs. And right now, I don't think they are better suited to make a deep playoff run like they were a year ago. The regular season is a different question. I'm trying to leave some of my critiques for November when the play starts to ramp up. But if I have to give my honest opinion, I think they are a step back. I don't think they're as good as they were day one a year ago, but that can change. And I'm happy to be completely wrong if the Stars get off to a hot start. But look, I'm not saying the Stars are cratering and they're going to miss the playoffs. I still think they're going to be comfortable in the top 3 of the Central for the majority of the season. And it should be exciting. And I'm intrigued because there are a lot of question marks, and that almost makes it a little more fun.
Yes, it does. All right. I know you'll have it covered every step of the way. Joey, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they can find the podcast and where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find us anywhere and everywhere. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on YouTube as well at Locked On Stars. You can follow me at Joey the Jet 19 on Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it these days, as well. And I spew some opinions on there as well. But always a pleasure to be with you, Gil, and thanks for having me on again.
Thank you, Joey. Take care. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much I never want them to stop. But with the NHL and NBA playoffs now in our rearview mirror, there are just fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And look, you've got baseball season in full swing as they head into the second half of the season. The summer games in Paris are going on right now. And of course, you have football futures as training camps open up across the United States. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.